Hello, Wellness Warriors. Today we have a conversation with Carlos. He's doing our carnivore diet, and he's going to explain to us how he got there. So, Carlos, why don't you take the floor?
I'll try to make this as short and interesting as possible. Grew up mostly overweight, obese most of my life. I am 43 years old. 40 of those years have been obese or overweight. Had a little relief in my teenage years, 13, 14 years old, hit my growth spurt. I was very active in sports, so I was able to continue eating junk food while being active and watching my weight go down. That didn't last very long. High school came, 16, 17 years old came, had a job, had a car, so I could hang out with my friends and spend money on fast food and candy at the store and less time walking and riding my bike now that I had a car. So, and my jobs were in food industry, fast food in particular. And so I had access to all that food um, and all the junk food. Saw my weight increased rapidly. My 17 years old, about to graduate high school, and I wanted to feel better, look better for my senior year in high school and before I went away to college. And started my activity level to increase, just jogging, no weightlifting, nothing changed in my diet, but weight came off, no problem. Trajectory was just, just up and down, weights off, weights on for my teenage years, 20s and 30s. Now I'm in my 40s, and nothing changed. I was up 10 pounds, I was down 15, up 20, down 20, up 23, just continuing it just over the decades. And I thought I could run it off. I did continue to eat what I wanted in my 20s, which was stable. My weight was stable. I didn't worry about my blood work then, and wasn't drinking too much. Drinking was never my thing. It was the junk food. It was the sugar. So I would run mile for miles, um, and to lose weight or to keep eating the way I was and not gain a pound. Whichever way you look at it, the results were the same. That the pounds just kept creeping back up. I just didn't put two and two together. Well, that's not true. I knew the majority of our wellness and the majority of us achieving our ideal weight was related to food, the vast majority. And I tried to make excuses as to why I was an exception to that rule. And I continued eating what I wanted. I would take a break, maybe not have fast food for a few months and cook at home. But even with that, the ice cream would sneak in, the bakery goods would sneak in to my kitchen, candy, and always within reach. So, uh, so I had, if my iPhone hooks up all photos of me, I can tell what year that picture was taken, not because of the timestamp, it's because what shape I was in. So, especially if I was thinner. Um, so in 2010, I got married, and of course, I worked my butt off to drop some weight. I saw a nutrition coach, and he was before my wedding. Months before my wedding, it was mostly chicken breasts and broccoli. So of course, that was unsustainable. I looked fantastic in pictures. I didn't feel very well. Trips to the bathroom were pretty difficult, and but hey, my wedding pictures look fine. I look pretty decent shape in my tuxedo. And and if you look at my wedding day photos, and then if you compare that to my last day of my honeymoon, which was 7 days later, it was amazing. The difference was amazing because during my honeymoon it was just orange juice, hamburgers, French fries, alcohol again, alcohol once in a while. That was never really my thing, but the junk food was. And so that was my problem. My problem was I can lose it moderately quickly, lose a pound. I'll gain it back so much faster. That was my up and downs, with the weight coming, with the weight increasing slowly but surely. That was sort of my 20s, and in my 30s things got worse mentally because well, the first thing I did was I was a vegan, eating a vegan diet, and when I was 32, from January till June of that year, and it worked well. It worked well. My goal was to lose weight, and the weight just fell off. Now, how much of that was muscle? I don't know. I'm pretty sure the majority of it because I had no source of protein. Um, but it was whole foods. I patted myself on the back. It was whole fruits and veggies and legumes and pastas, nothing processed. So the big help for sure. And I was cooking most of it at home. And around that time, of course, I saw the documentaries, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and Forks Over Knives. So I just saw the benefits that they were espousing and the benefits that they were choosing to show us. And I thought, okay, I can do this. I can do vegan for the foreseeable future. I bought a juicer, and I said, okay, if I can juice my fruits and vegetables, I'm good. And because if you cook vegan, that's an arduous process. That's a lot of ingredients, and that's a lot of time. I figured, hey, juicing takes care of that. Um, Throw in some spinach and some grapes and some cucumber, and that's all I need for my meal for lunch.
So wait, am I understanding well that in order to do your vegan diet, you were just drinking your vegetables and then eating fruit?
The opposite. I was eating my vegetables and drinking the fruit.
Oh, you reverse. You were eating the vegetables and drinking fruit.
Yeah, well, of course, the fruit juice was amazing, right?
Okay.
So just to supplement my cooking, because the cooking took so long, and it took so many ingredients to make it imitate a regular meal.
Oh, that's why. Because okay, when you were cooking vegetables, you were trying to like recreate. Like, what kind of things would you try to recreate? For example.
Lasagna, pancakes, omelets, pizzas, just ridiculous. Most of it failed miserably, which was fine because hey, I tried, and I'm gonna make my juice. I'm gonna go to the other side of the kitchen and make my juice, and I'll be fine. And so that lasted about 6 months, and look at those photos. I go, my hair is short. Um, my face was perfectly clear. Okay, that was 2012 because that's when I was a vegan. But I didn't feel very well. After about 4 months, my body was thankful that I stopped with the processed food, that I stopped with the junk food, and I took it easy on the sugar. I didn't stop sugar because I was having the fruit juice. But after about 5 months, I started, becoming moody. My energy was absolutely gone. Um, Knee pain started creeping up on me, which I couldn't figure out because I was 30 years old, exercising, and my knees were killing me. And my back pain started increasing as well. So, and my goals are short-sighted. They were awful goals. There was a black tie event that year, in June of that year, that I told myself in January, I'm going to look good for those pictures. I'm going to look nice for those pictures. I want to look like I did at my wedding. And I did it. Got a tuxedo. I looked pretty good. And my face was clear. My eyes were no longer bloodshot. I was feeling okay. And then a friend's wedding happened within a week of that event. So I said, okay, I'm going to look nice for our friends' wedding photos. And I looked fine. There was nothing wrong with me physically. And but once those events were over, I just couldn't get back to it. And here's the thing. I hate vegetables. I hate them. I never liked them. My mother tried forcing me to eat them. Of course she did. She was just trying to do the best she could. But if there was onions or peppers on my plate, they would be. If I couldn't brush them aside, I just wouldn't eat it. Eat whatever she made. Um, but during this time, I forced myself, which was stressful in its own right. You're forcing yourself to eat something that's not good, whatever it is. Um, so I couldn't go back to it. So the junk food came back. The hamburgers and French fries came back. The candy came back. Um, Ice cream, of course. And that was 2012. So from 2012 to last year, I was on that roller coaster again. I would take a few weeks off from fast food and ice cream, and I would cook at home. More and more food being made at home, and so I was feeling okay. And then the junk food would creep up, and the bad mental state, the very negative mental state was that I was going to start a new diet tomorrow. I'm going to start a new diet tomorrow. And in the beginning, I thought, okay, let me go back to veganism. That lasted for a few months. I'm going to go back to being vegan tomorrow. And I'll do a vegan breakfast and a vegan lunch. And then by that dinner time, I just was back to my hamburgers, or good days I was back to my steaks or chicken breast, and just that mindset allowed me to binge. I started binging on junk food and candy the day before I was going to start my new diet. So I would I would do that for a while, and the new diet would come up, whatever it was. Um, High protein, low fat, low carbs. Last me a few weeks, and then the sugar and junk food just came back, and that was cyclical for years and years and years. So fast forward to last year, I was working in a skilled nursing facility. I'm a physical therapist at this point. Well, physiotherapist at this point, and I understood anatomy, understood physiology, chemistry, and knew how the body works as far as functionality. And when I was working with these people, older people, chronically ill most of the time, unfortunately, I was uh, about 250 at that time, 250 pounds. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure what that is in kilos, but 250 pounds. Blood work, blood work was okay. The funny thing is, blood work was okay up until about 2 years ago. My cholesterol was fine. My blood pressure was never a problem. My A1C started creeping up a little bit. Fasting glucose started creeping up a little bit, but there was never an issue. My doctor said, just lose the weight. Your blood work is fine. Just lose the weight. Okay, well, how do I do that? Eat less, move more. Okay, so just didn't think that was the whole story. And I studied physiology, and I knew how hormones work. I know how insulin works. I never was able to put two and two together. And then the whole indoctrination of red meat's bad, cholesterol is bad. Take it easy on the red meats, more fruits, more vegetables, more whole grains, and lean meats. And I'm thinking, but again, in addition to not being able to put two and two together, I couldn't tell myself there's something wrong with that because it's unsustainable for you. And if you look around to the population at large and your patients right in front of you, that is unsustainable because they're not able to do it either. I'm severely overweight. I'm obese. Trying to work with these people, which involves getting them out of bed, physically getting them out of bed and into a wheelchair. To what extent varies from patient to patient. And that would be that when the nurses come for the medications, which was cups and cups and cups of pills for this and that, and they're not getting any better. And but during this whole time I was there, I told myself, Carlos, you need to stop doing what you're doing because you are going to end up just like these people are here, just like these poor people are here. They are trapped inside their bodies because they did what the system told them to do, and they just got more sick. I just said, okay, I got to figure something out. And then last summer, I said, okay, I was finally honest with myself. I said, Carlos, you cannot moderate sugar. You can't moderate sugar. You have the inability to have one soda. Um, 'Cause my allowance would be to buy a six pack on a Sunday and for it to last me a week. Okay, that's less than a can of Dr. Pepper a day, and then just start from there. But that six pack would last me 2 days. And one of my stress relief was driving home in traffic after a long day of work with a Dr. Pepper in my hand. And that was last summer. I said, I don't know how you're going to fix this, but sugar is the main culprit. You can't moderate it. You're just going to have to abstain. Well, then how do I do that? I don't know. You just first step is just saying, hey, you can't moderate. In my teens, in my 20s, it was no problem. In my 30s, it started becoming more difficult to stay away from the sugar, and then in my 40s, it was pointless. I couldn't stop. During Christmas of last year, I had COVID, and it was pretty severe. I was vaccinated, but symptoms are still pretty severe. And I told myself, your only reason why this is so severe is because you are so metabolically ill. You are so inflamed, your body is trying to put out all these fires on a day-to-day basis. And when this humongous fire pops up, it lacks the resources to deal with it effectively. So I was quarantined. And during that time, I was just thinking, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? During that time, I was door dashing pizza and McDonald's and, potato chips and soda from the store. So that was in December of last year. Then January comes around, January 2023, and I said, okay. And I know meal prepping helps a lot of people. If they meal prep for the week, then that helps them stay on track with a good diet, stay away from the junk food. So I said, okay, but that stressed me out for years and years and years. And I just told myself, not the Sundays, I'm not going to make myself work on Sundays. I just said, that's my day off. If I might back up just a little bit, for those years, I just I told myself I just need something simple. I need something that won't leave me hungry and weak, and I need something that this is delicious, something I enjoy eating. I I was telling myself that in my head for years, and this never clicked. One of those things that never clicked. And January came around, and I said, okay, don't meal prep for the week. Just meal prep for one day. On this Sunday, you're going to meal prep for Monday and see how it goes. Okay, so threw a bunch of chicken breasts in a crock pot. Of course, no salts, just water, and steamed up some broccoli. And that was my lunch for that Monday. And skipped breakfast, just had some coffee. It was a rough morning, and I was at work, and I opened up that container of chicken and broccoli, and I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. This is gross. It's not gonna make me feel better. I don't want to eat it, and if I do, I'm just forcing myself to eat it, which isn't good. So I said, okay, there was a barbecue joint not 2 minutes away. Let's go get some barbecue. I said, okay, let's go. I said, okay, but on three conditions: no soda, no sauce, no bread. You can have whatever you want, except you cannot have those three things. I said, okay, I can do that. So we went there. Just had some broccoli, just covered in cheese, of course, and brisket. Give me a pound of brisket, the fattest brisket you got, and some broccoli and cheese, and a cup of water. I said, okay. And then I had that. I took my colleague with me, and we were having lunch together. And he's really into fitness, strong, big guy, younger guy, and shape. And I asked him, grew up as an athlete. Do you track your macros, proteins, fats, and such? He goes, no, not really. He's still in his 20s, so he could eat whatever he wanted, and still look pretty good. So I bring that up because when I got home that day, I was feeling fantastic. I didn't reach for that Dr. Pepper on the way home because I was feeling good. I was not lethargic. I wasn't grumpy. I remember my wife was out of town because I didn't have to cook dinner for us. So I was going to DoorDash some pizza. But lying on my couch, I wasn't falling asleep. I wasn't tired. I didn't want anything. I didn't want any food. I was thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not hungry. This is what it feels to not be hungry. And I thought, I'm not sure how that happened. So I opened up my phone, just that because I kind of just forgot about that. I opened up my phone because I wasn't tired. I wasn't falling asleep. And Dave Mack showed up on my YouTube stream. So I watched his videos, and this is in the very beginning. He's talking about his residual effects of his stroke since he was a child. Well, he's 17 or 16. He was very young. He's a teenager. And he said, my gait has improved, but his arthritis has gone away. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't. He was having ground beef and eggs. And I think he was having some dairy at that point too, before he dropped the dairy. And I said, okay, I know too much carbs is bad. I knew that. I just said I didn't know how to stop. And I didn't know which carbs were good, which carbs were bad. And after I watched his video, the low carb down under videos started popping up. And of course, they would walk you through what carbs does to you, what fats do to you, saturated fats do to you, what proteins do to you, and why, if you can increase the proteins and fats and decrease the carbs, why people are healthy that way. Okay, so I've heard the ketogenic diet. I understand the physiology. I just didn't know it was possible for me to do. So I thought, okay, well, let me think about it. And then Dr. Berry showed up. Dr. Baker's videos showed up. Chafee, the usual suspects. I said, no, you don't need vegetables. We're doing fine without vegetables. We have uh, clients and patients who are doing fine with no vegetables, no fruit. And I thought, that I can do. I can do bacon, I can do beef, I can do butter and eggs if I can leave out the vegetables. Because if I would, if I had to eat, quote unquote, had to eat the vegetables, I would go to the store, pick out the least bitter ones, the ones I hated the least, cover them in butter, and then for my meal, and then have the rest just rot. Our refrigerator would smell so bad every Sunday because that we never went to the vegetables. We never finished the vegetables on time. And whatever money I can save from the vegetables, I can put towards more bacon or more steak. And so I tried it. I talked to my wife about it, and she doesn't agree with what I do, but she's very supportive. She knows my struggles. I told her the deal was I'm going to try this, and I will go to the doctor every 3 months to get my blood work checked to check in. And we said, okay, deal. And that was in January, and ever since then, everything has improved, and it's the answer I've been looking for decades. Weight's down, body fat percentage is down, um, triglycerides, A1C, blood pressure, it's all down. Estrogen is up. Excuse me. Testosterone is up, and cholesterol is up, of course. I don't get annoyed. I don't get bothered by when I see my PA or my medical doctor because the whole statin issue comes up, the LDL concern comes up. My LDL shot up, and I'm not too worried about that. If everything else is down, the LDL is of no concern to me because my quality of life has improved so much. And if statistics show that I'm going to die a year or two earlier, I think I'm okay with that because my quality of life is okay, and that's not for certain. Nothing tomorrow's never promised. But if today is better, I'm okay with that. Before we started, you asked if I was doing uh, a ketogenic diet. No, I can't. I think fruit would trigger me, lead me down the rabbit hole of sugar, of justifying it, having strawberries here, strawberries there, and then some pineapple, and then some fruit juice, and then I really believe I'll relapse, and I just don't like vegetables. And yeah, with the carnivore diet, it's simple. It least doesn't. I'm never craving anything. When I'm hungry, I eat, and when I'm full, and it's simple. I love it.
Did I understand you well that the binging behavior only started after veganism? Wellness Warrior, sharing our stories is what will help new people to understand that keto actually works. So if you have improved your health, mental health, or weight through eating healthy keto, please look in the description. There's a form to fill out so that we can do an interview and you can share your story. Keto is more than a diet. It's a way of life that gives you your life back. I'm not a special snowflake. I know that you also have lived amazing things. So let's change this together. The form is below. The binging behavior only started after veganism?
Yes, yes, because I responded so well to veganism in regards to my weight. I don't know about anything else, but my weight went down. I figured, okay, I did it before, I can do it again, but I will start tomorrow. And because tomorrow isn't now, I was eating my pizza and my soda and my, you know, milk and then some sugar, just cereal that's just colored sugar. I allowed myself that because I was going to start a new diet tomorrow.
Right. So it was kind of like your get out of free card. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like my last hurrah and
Yeah.
the last party before graduation, whatever you want to call it. It was just my excuse to do what I wanted because I knew the vegan diet was so difficult for me to stick to because I don't like vegetables. The fruit was just mostly fruit juice, and cooking that food is so difficult, and the waste was incredible. The amount of vegetables I would waste was unbelievable.
One of the interesting things that you're pointing out right now, and I wasn't I mean, no, I can't say I wasn't aware, but I do find it interesting that in both vegan, vegetarian lifestyle, and then on the other side of the spectrum, we have keto, carnivore lifestyle. There's these fake foods, these replacement foods that we keep trying to make. And from what you're telling me, it's like, first of all, they're hard to make. I know my experience of them, but I'm curious to know yours. For me, I found eating them was not satisfying. I remember what real pizza tastes like. So eating a fake, like it wasn't satisfying.
No, and it wasn't at all. And then, at the end of my day, I didn't want to bother cooking anymore. Um, so I was so when I was unsatisfied and when I was hungry, I would make more fruit juice, or I would go to a local taco stand and give me this tacos and that tacos, but leave out the meat. So processed tortillas, processed cheeses, what kind of sauces they have, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's sugar in them anyway. So just didn't. I was looking for excuses to get back to what I really liked, which tends to be savory foods. And of course, my body was, telling me, hey, we need fats, we need saturated fats, and we need proteins. But I didn't know well enough back then to listen to my signals, like I am now. And yeah, it just never. I wasn't. My three big asks were, something easy, something satisfying, and something I enjoy. And veganism was one of three of those. It was tasty, but only because it was either loaded with sugar or loaded with salt.
And the other thing you talk about what you enjoy, that meal that led to the brisket, I find very interesting because you cooked it the day before and you said that you didn't put like you didn't cook it in a way that sounded like you were going to enjoy it the next day, but that somehow thought you were going to eat it the next day, which didn't play out. And I wonder though, is that dependent on like how was I feeling that? Like had you been in a better mood that day at lunchtime, would you have eaten it? Because it sounded like you were not happy that day.
No, but that was my everyday though. And was it my work environment? Was it maybe? My job's a job, the stress is going to be there. If you think you're going to live a stress-free life, you're absolutely you're fooling yourself. It's just how we manage that. So if my blood sugar is up and down all the time, if my insulin is up and down all the time, if my hormones are out of whack, if I'm in pain all the time, if I'm unhappy with the way I look and the way I feel, I'm not going to be a very happy person. Had I had a different, so all that leads to my mindset. I, I don't believe that I can just be happy for the sake of being happy. The foundational elements have to be there. That's an interesting question. I never thought about it that way, but there was no way for me to enjoy that meal because everything else was off. There was nothing on point, metabolically speaking, that would make me choose the the healthier options, the correct options. And I just didn't think. I didn't think at all. I couldn't. I was I was so sick that I couldn't think straight. I could just function to the best of my ability, go to work, show up to work, and do my best as a therapist for my patients. And everything else just didn't matter because I could barely accomplish those.
I feel like it's interesting that you said it so clearly, like to yourself. You actually said, "This is not going to make me happy," and I feel like what's interesting to me is a lot of people they don't even say those they don't say the words for them to even see what's happening, and so they end up not realizing why that's happening. So, on one hand, you making that decision though, it's kind of like the best mistake you ever made because you go and eat brisket and realize, wow, that actually did something different to me for the rest of the entire day. And again, it sounded like you said you didn't even eat it again that day.
No, I was amazed that I wasn't hungry. Because before that, I was constantly hungry. I was always hungry. Like except for the 10 minutes after I had the same barbecue, but with sauce and bread and stuffing and soda, I wasn't hungry for 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. But after that, I was sleepy, lethargic, And then the hunger just came roaring back, and I didn't know how to get out of that. I didn't know. I thought chicken and broccoli was the answer, but it was much more complicated than that.
I love that answer because you're also showing another piece of the puzzle. Because that same restaurant, that same meal, but allowing yourself to have the rice or the potatoes or the bread or the whatever else they might serve beside that's high in carb. So many doctors tell us it's the carbohydrates that's blocking your access to the meat and fats you're eating. And we don't believe them. And you just exactly given the example where you had eaten that exact same meal however many times before, but allowed yourself to have the carb besides, and you're hungry 10 minutes later. And this time, by just not having the carb besides, you were fine and fine for the whole evening, which to me is just wow. How quickly your body did the right thing.
Yeah. Okay. Corny as it sounds, I really believe my body's been thanking me ever since. These past 10 months, my body's saying, hey, thank you for this. I've had my ups and downs. I had a little relapse a couple weeks ago. Just the mental clarity I have now is allowing me to see what's working well for me. And people ask all the time, how are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Especially for those who haven't seen me since last year. I just tell them I could give you a really quick lecture on how this works, or I can just tell you, and if you have questions, I can show, here are some YouTube channels to check out. Try not to be too preachy about it. Sometimes that's getting away from me. I don't like to talk much when I'm around other people. So, but if it's a friends or family or someone who is generally interested, or someone I really do care about, I will take an extra, you know, 5, 10 minutes to talk to them as to how, physiologically speaking, what sugar is doing to us and what avoiding the saturated fats is doing for us.
I find it interesting where you had all these thoughts about like you're a physiotherapist, you understand health, you understand some of the biology. So like you have all these thoughts, you have the data that's from that we get from our doctors, right? Eat less, move more. I'm wondering when you first understood the it's the carbs that's causing the problem, which was more than a year ago, it was a few years ago, you figured that part out. Do you have an idea why you were blocked from seeing then put the carbs down?
Yeah, I think about that often. I believe I was mentally blocked from a physiological standpoint because I couldn't think straight. As I mentioned before, I was barely functioning, going to work, being a husband, being a good person, barely functioning, and just so that was my priority: get to work, come home, don't be a grumpy grump to the missus, and just help out around the house. That was part of it. That I couldn't think straight. The other part of it is just I was just addicted. I couldn't I couldn't see a way out. Um, I mentioned before that I could moderate my sugar uh, much more effectively in my 20s. I would go months and months and months without sugar, without even a diet soda. And of course, my weight would just drop off of me. Felt better. My asthma was better and more active. I was able to perform more running or even in the gym. In my 30s, those months of abstaining from sugar turned into weeks. I would last a few weeks in my 30s. Um, Also, my activity level went down as well. The amount of time I was spending in the gym, the amount of miles I was trying to jog, just didn't. It wasn't increasing. It was just not. It was just decreasing. And then in my late 30s and my 40s, I just kind of just stopped trying. So I just while I was having my ice cream, while I was having my burgers and fries or pizza at home, just thought this has to stop. I don't know how to do it. But chicken and broccoli, I guess, for the rest of my life. I don't know. Um, but there was also other motivating factors as well. I would always have a humongous bag of peanut butter M&Ms in our pantry. And then last year, my wife asked me, "Can you please stop leaving those candies around?" Because she couldn't help herself. She was eating them too. She said, I don't want to eat them, but if they're around, I can't help myself." I said, "Okay, your behavior is affecting those you care most about in a negative way. So something has to change." That was a big contributing factor to me just getting healthy overall. And at this around the same time, I admitted to myself that there was no moderating sugar with you. You're going to have to stop. So I mulled on that for about 6 months. Thought about that 6, 7 months. How are you going to stop? How are you going to stop? And just by chance, I had the ingredients, which was the fatty meats and water, and I had the support, an indirect support, but support nonetheless from Barry, Chafee, Baker, Dave Mack, and Low Carb Down Under. Really, by listening to those, listen to one video, at least one video a day, kind of reassured me I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the right thing, and everything that they're saying, the benefits, every one of them, I was experiencing. So it was extraordinarily helpful. I don't know if I could have put two and two together without the YouTube videos that are available to all of us, and they've just been increasing ever since.
I think the thing that you said that I'm stuck on a little bit is the fact that the brain fog, you had already started noticing it, and you recognize where, like, because I'm not thinking clearly, I'm having this argument in my head that if I was thinking clearly, like, I would just solve this question. Like, I would solve it, right? And we know that, like, when we're thinking clearly, when we're feeling good, we solve things. But then here we are where we know this is a problem and somehow we're not acting on the solution that we know would then lead to our better health. So going back to, I understand physiology, I understand biology. I would have looked at that and said, okay, what are the two other macronutrients? It only makes sense, right? There's only three. But somehow you weren't able to let yourself do that because you weren't feeling well. And flip side of the coin, I eat a good meal, I feel better. I eat another good meal, I feel better. And all of a sudden now I'm listening to educational videos on this. And all of a sudden I'm doing the thing because my brain is there to help me do it. And I figure it out.
It absolutely snowballed. It was incredible, and didn't and I wasn't killing myself in the gym. So years up to this point, I would wake up in the morning and my back pain would kill me. It was just a matter of how bad it would be. And typical arthritis, I would walk, after a few minutes of walking around, I'd be okay. Try to do exercises and stretches the way I know how to do them and see if they could alleviate some of it, but never really stuck. It was always increasing. So I thought it was an orthopedic issue because I'm a side sleeper and my belly was so big that I would it would just kind of pull my lumbar spine into extension for hours at a time. And so I would put pillows or prop up my belly to support my belly and support my back. But within 3 days, before I lost a pound, the pain was gone. And I thought that's pretty amazing. My body shape was still pretty much the same. I still slept on my side. My belly's just as big, but well within a week, my pain was gone. My back pain was gone. And I thought, huh. So of course I would Google, Dr. Berry, carnivore back pain. And of course it was probably inflammation at that point, decades and decades of inflammation. It was just getting to the point where it was affecting me on a daily basis with whether it's Berry or Chafee or whomever explaining the physiology. I just soaked it all up like a sponge, and it just made total sense. Now that my head was becoming clearer, I was able to go back to my lectures on this very same topic, and so it all just started making sense as to why this is helping me and helping so many other people.
I'm wondering, because you mentioned that there were other benefits that you lived. Like, can you tell us about some of these other benefits?
Yeah, my gray hair is disappearing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
You're the
not
first
sure.
person I've ever heard say that.
Yeah, it's
There's hope for me.
it's a lot less. Yeah, maybe. It looks great on you. It's okay. It's something I noticed that there's been not as much anymore, and I'm not searching and destroying, just leaving them alone, and there's a lot less. on my head. Um, Asthma was about 90% better. I've had asthma ever since I was an infant. That was a learning experience. So within a month, my asthma was significantly better.
Wow.
Still on medication.
Okay.
Still on medication. So I thought, okay, I'm feeling so good. I want off my medication.
Can I ask you, like, what was like, how can we tell that the asthma is like, what's different? Like, you can do what?
I can sprint, no problem. I can walk around shopping up and down stairs, walk around the clinic without reaching for my inhaler. There are times where I don't know where my inhaler is because I don't need it as much. And I'm not going to the pharmacy to refill my prescriptions. So pretty solid, tangible signs that I'm using my inhaler a lot less. And I would use my rescue inhaler, which is the albuterol, and my corticosteroid, which is the long-acting one. I tried stopping both of them at the same time because I was feeling so well, and I spent a week not sleeping because breathe during my I couldn't breathe during the night. So I said, okay, that's not a setback, but that wasn't smart. So please get back on at least one medication so you can at least sleep. So I do use my rescue inhaler, but the steroid I no longer use. Yeah, my gums no longer bleed, no longer pain in my gums. And then mental clarity is there. My depression and anxiety are gone. I feel like I deal with stress much more effectively. Instead of pouting for days at a time, I would just pout for a few hours and try and solve the problem at hand. The eyes were no longer bloodshot.
Ah, you had
Um,
bloodshot eyes. Okay.
prob- oh yeah, that was getting worse. So I'm assuming probably tied to my blood pressure elevating this past 2.5 years, 2 years. Every, Everything. There's not one thing that's gone in a negative direction since I started this. People see that. People say, "Wow, what are you doing? What about your cholesterol? What about fruits and vegetables?" And it's just this. I don't mind it. I honestly don't. I think people ask me about that all the time, and I really don't mind. I don't want to get preachy about it, but I just tell them I'm okay. I'm a normal person. I'm nobody special. I'm not exceptional. I'm doing this exceptional thing because, in my opinion, I'm just going back to basics. No processed foods, no supplements, no medications, no crazy workout routine 8 times a week. I'm just eating what I think is a species appropriate diet, and then just living my life, and reacting to that species specific diet, species appropriate diet, and I my reaction to that has been nothing but positive.
One thing that I'm wondering about, since you're bringing up other people right now, that's a big part of why most people are afraid to do keto or carnivore. All the restrictions that they feel that we have about what we can and cannot eat. So you have all these people because you're around people, so they notice you're eating differently. Has it impeded your ability to be social and to live your life and to go out to restaurants and to do the things?
No, it has changed. It hasn't impeded. Um, if I may go back to your point, just the sweetest bit of irony about this whole thing is that people say, and you're right, like if you want to look at it that way, it is restrictive. Okay. But by only looking for bacon, beef, butter, and eggs, I am free. I am the most free I've been in decades because when I go to the grocery store, I'm no longer trying to guess which rice is healthier, which bread is healthier, which vegetable is the least heinous to me, which fruit has the most fiber, which nuts are the most beneficial. So if I'm be able to function very well without any of that stuff, I'm free. I go to the store if I'm shopping for myself. If my wife's out of town for work, I go to the store. I go to the butcher, and I go to the egg department. That's it. I just get my eggs, get my meats, and I go home, and I'm free. I'm absolutely free. And when I go to a restaurant, um, if it's a burger joint, hey, just give me a burger, give me a plain burger, plain, no cheese, no ketchup, and I just use the bun to hold the patties, and then I just have the patties, and I'm perfectly fine with that with my cup of water. If you go to a chain steakhouse, I try not to. I'll tell you why. Even if it's even if it's a fancy steakhouse, I try not to because at this point, my steaks are better than what they're making. Um, Especially the chains. We have Logan's, Texas Roadhouse, and I just ask them, please, no oils, no salt, no pepper. Um, I don't go the extent of telling them I'm allergic. I don't want to be dishonest like that. I just said, please, just I don't like any of that stuff. Just put it on the grill. Give it to me medium. Give me a ribeye medium. Well, two ribeyes medium, and that's that. And a glass of water. And I dropped this much money on a steak. I could do better at home. But I'm with friends, which is fine. I'm not a snob about it. Have maybe a couple whiskeys. It has changed my social life, but it hasn't impeded it at all. And then, of course, I get the questions. What are you doing? I haven't seen you in 6 months. You look like I did barely recognized you. Um, the last time I went to a dinner was with my nephew and his friends, and they're in college now. And I met his friend last year, and good guy, but I recognized him this past dinner. But his reaction to me was just, "Hey, how you doing? It's nice to meet you." I thought, we met. I didn't put two and two together. He didn't recognize me because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, we met last year. But that's okay. You're meeting tons of people. You're a college kid. You're seeing new people all the time. I didn't think about it. And then at the end of the dinner, when we're having a similar conversation as to why am I only having steak? Why did I not have the appetizer or the bread or any of the sides? As I said, because I don't eat like that anymore. And I told him my journey. And then I saw his face light up. He said, oh, wow, we met last year and I didn't recognize you. I said, yeah, I get that a lot. I get that the people they don't recognize me anymore if they haven't seen me this past few months. It's interesting. We just went out to a barbecue place on Sunday. My wife had one of her best friends who was in town, and on my tray of food, it was just one sausage link, just a sausage link. I wasn't that hungry. And then she goes, her friend just asked me, so, no vegetables, no fruits, no chicken, no turkey. I said, fruits and veggies, no. The cornbread, absolutely not. Chicken and turkey, that's just a waste of time as far as I'm concerned. It does nothing for me. So, the fattier the better. And then the ones, she didn't say this, but the ones who do say, God, that's so unhealthy, I just shake my head and go, yeah, maybe. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, who's on more medications? Me or you? Okay, I'm no longer overweight. Your belly's hanging over, brother. Your belly's hanging over your belt. I never say a word like that. I just try to be encouraging as much as I can. Um, but if I disagree with them, I just kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. But I like to think that my actions kind of speak for me because again, I don't like to talk very much. So if I can answer your questions, I'd be more than happy to. But if my actions kind of set up, will help you turn that light bulb above your head. Oh my goodness, I understand now, or okay, it's working for him. It could work for me, or at the very least, let me look into this. Maybe what we were told these past 40 years isn't correct. Then I'd be extraordinarily happy.
And it's interesting because she didn't say, is that healthy? She said, that's not healthy.
No, she didn't. She didn't. She was just amazed that I could do something so restrictive. It's people aside from her. She was very understanding, very open minded, even though she didn't agree. Um, but there are others that just said that's got to be so unhealthy. What's your cholesterol? So if I'm feeling annoyed, I would ask them, can you please, on a pathophysiological level, can you please explain to me why cholesterol is bad? None of them can, and I just leave it at that. But the most of the time, I just say it's not true. And if you look at a photo taken in 1980 of people at a lake or at a beach and compare it to now, something's wrong there. on a systemic level, something is wrong.
Within your household, your wife, is she doing the same diet as you, or does she do her own thing?
No, she's doing her own thing. I'm pretty much making two dinners every day, um, which is fine, totally fine. Uh, I like cooking. I think I'm learning a lot, and but mine is the same, just ribeyes and bacon, pretty much.
What I love about what you just said is earlier you said that you hated cooking. Like you didn't want to have be in the kitchen, you it was too much work, da da da. Da. Now it's simple and easy and you're making two meals. Isn't it amazing how things change when our understanding of what we're accomplishing changes?
Oh my goodness, yes, very well said. Yes, ma'am. But the biggest benefit is I'm no longer bringing home ice cream. I'm no longer bringing home pizza. I'm not bringing home bags of M&Ms unless she wants it. She gives me a text message that says, "Hey babe, I've had a really bad day. Can you bring home a hot fudge sundae, a small hot fudge sundae?" No problem. I can go to the shop. I'm not sure if you have Sonic. We have Sonic, and or Dairy Queen. I go look at the menu. I'm in the store, smelling the food, or the French fries and the bread, and the chicken strips, and seeing people dipping the same food in really delicious salty gravy. And I'm not tempted for 1 second. I'm not tempted. Her ice cream melts in my hand, and I'm not tempted to lick the ice cream off my finger. I just don't want it anymore. And when I do visit family, especially during Thanksgiving, just surrounded by cakes and pies and cookies, surrounded by it. People always ask me, how are you not eating it? This is the best apple pie ever. This is the best cheesecake ever. This is your mom's cheesecake, your favorite of all time, and you're not going to have a piece. I go, no. Well, what's one piece going to hurt you? I think it's not going to hurt me. It's just, I don't want it. I'm full. My mother was kind enough, after she made the beautiful, beautiful turkey dinner, she bought me two ribeye steaks. And I made those for myself while everyone else was having turkey and stuffing and mashed potatoes and gravy and sugary stuff, which is fine. It's Thanksgiving. Please help yourself. Don't mind me. I'm okay. I really am okay. And why can I say no? How can I say no to the cakes and pies and cookies? My steaks filled me up. I'm satiated. I'm not tired. And my blood sugar was not spiked. So my insulin levels are pretty level or low. So physiologically speaking, that's why I no longer want the pies and cakes.
Yeah. And they don't understand that. It's hard for people to understand that.
Sure. And that was my de-stressor was food. It was food and exercise, but as I got older, exercise became less doable, just out of pain and fatigue. And then it just became food. And now I have different ways of dealing with stress. Just exercise, mostly exercise, or just talking, trying to talk more about stuff that's bothering me. Just I no longer need food to um, de-stress. But saying that, I did relapse last week or during Thanksgiving, even before that. I tried. Maybe I just got bored with my ribeyes and bacon, but I figured let me try adding more fat. And it wasn't beef tallow. It wasn't suet from the butcher shop. It was just heavy cream and sour cream. I would buy that, buy the container full, and I'd drink the heavy cream straight, the cups of it, and I would have a container full of sour cream a day, and it was so easy, so convenient, so satiating. But I was I was visiting my family for Thanksgiving, and I was having a lot of sour cream, spoonful, spoonful, spoonful. And then I came back. They live in New York. I live in Texas, and I came back to Texas, and I'm still having sour cream. And I remember thinking, um, I just finished a pound of it, pound of sour cream, uh, the big container, and I said, "You weren't hungry, you know, 10 and 15 scoops ago, but you're still eating, and it's processed foods, so you're doing it again. You are mindlessly eating something that's easy, and it's tasty, and you're not stopping unless the container's empty. You're doing it again. So at the beginning of November, it was a cup of yogurt, a cup of Greek yogurt. At the end of November, it was pounds of sour cream and heavy cream. My legs broke out in a rash, a terrible, terrible rash, and that lasted for about 3 days. The itchiness lasts for about 3 days, but the skin to right now is still pretty scaly. Trying to be out in the sun more, and I stopped the dairy altogether because I was talking to my counselor, and I said I think that was a relapse, but I had the wherewithal to recognize it and to stop it. And now that I'm in this new mindset, I'm able to recognize it, to be okay with it, and then just and then resolve it. And in my case, it was just stop eating that stuff, stop reaching for it when you're in the grocery store. Go back to the basics. Beef, butter, bacon, eggs. Go back to the basics and be okay. Tell yourself it's gonna be okay. You made a mistake. So what? And in the past, with my other diets, it's like, oh, I had a cup of ice cream this morning, this for lunch because of someone's birthday at work. To hell with it. Diet's ruined. Let me go to the Chick-fil-A. Let me go to the McDonald's because the diet's ruined. I was no longer perfect.
The lack of mental clarity that you're talking about earlier, where you'd make one mistake and then not be able to resolve that it's a mistake. Okay, fine. And I can move forward. So the difference here is that, and interestingly, so this is how us humans kind of get ourselves in a hole sometimes, because I'm doing this behavior and I'm watching it. Okay, that one serving of yogurt turns into two, eventually turns into the big container, turns into, right. And what's my thought to myself? Oh, but I'm stable, right? Not realizing that at some point my body's going to show me something. And at some point your body showed you something, right?
Yeah, I wasn't. It was bad. I wasn't feeling well. I wasn't feeling greatest, but I figured that's okay. It's the shorter days. We have a lot less sunlight, a lot less daytime. That might be it. Gained about, I think within 2 weeks I gained 7 pounds, and that back in my battle days, that would have triggered me to say to hell with it. Let's go to Dairy Queen. Let's go to Domino's, get some pizza. Because what's the point if I'm just gonna fail? That Those thoughts never came back. They never entered my mind. It was just, what's the problem? This is an issue. You're doing it again. It's not the end of the world. Get back to basics.
I think that most of us have that moment on carnivore and keto. We have that moment where it's almost like I can't believe that I really can never have that again. It's just like I have to test it, right? And then you test it, and your body says, "What are you doing?" And you realize, okay, yeah, I need to listen to my body, which is exactly what happened. Once you saw something on your body, you started to listen again. And I feel like what you're saying is so important because we all need to understand that that can happen to any of us. Nobody's perfect. Sometimes it happens on purpose, like you decide to have some yogurt. Sometimes it happens because you just go to a restaurant, you don't know there's something in there because you asked all the questions, but they forgot to tell you, oh, there's honey. There's no sugar, but there's honey, or there's maple syrup, or there's something, and you didn't know.
The other benefit of this diet for me and for those who follow it, those who enjoy it, is that the previous diets would be chicken and broccoli again. Okay, so if you didn't like that, if it wasn't satiating, if it wasn't easy, then there's just more stress. So if I'm going to have a pizza on a Sunday, I say, okay, I guess I'll get back to my chicken and broccoli tomorrow. Where's the incentive in that? It's not easy, it's not tasty, and I'm going to be hungry within an hour anyway. But with a carnivore diet, if hypothetically I went to a I went to a big party and there was pizza and you know um, ice cream and hamburgers and hot dogs, and I had that and I had some beer. So what? Am I going to feel terrible? Probably. What do I do the next day? Cook up the bacon, cook up the eggs, stuff that you like, the stuff that you really like, and then can just get back on track. So that's comforting knowing that going back to basics is so enjoyable for me because I love the food. It's so easy, and I know that I will feel better the after I have this carnivore diet.
I also think that the fact that when we go back to the food that makes us feel better and actually feel better, but in a good way, not in a self soothing, got a dopamine hit and I'm hungry 5 minutes later, but like in the actual, I ate healthy food. I feel good. It tasted good and I can still go and do my day. That encourages us. Why do we keep eating the thing that's hurting us? And I feel like for those of us who have actually made the investment in learning how to cook healthy keto or carnivore meals, even if it's something as simple as perfecting a steak, is what you're doing. Um, when we do that, we end up, if we just deciding that that's not even worth it, like eating the thing isn't worth it anymore because the fun we think we're going to get out of it doesn't match what I get out of eating the healthy meal. And I feel like over time we see that. So, but we need those stumbles. We need the stumbles to be able to see it.
And I think most of us are lacking that one opportunity to step back, to be able to step back. And my day was that day of my lunch, my faithful chicken and broccoli lunch. By eating just the brisket and water and being happy with that, it allowed me to take a step back and then saying, hey, something's up here, what's going on? And then magically YouTube shows, hey, here's low carb down under, here's Dr. Berry, and here are the benefits to this way of eating, which you just did, 4 hours ago, and explaining why I feel so good, why I feel so much better, and for the first time in I don't know how long, satiated. And I've luckily, I've never been in of all the relationships I've been in, they've been pretty good ones, pretty decent ones. None of them are abusive. None of them are neglectful. So when I would see people who were in painful, abusive relationships, I didn't understand. Just walk away. Just walk away. And I think I understand now because my relationship with food was so detrimental, so one-sided. I knew I couldn't stay this way, and I knew what I was eating every day was bad for me. I just couldn't stop because it was so familiar. It was so comforting, and it was always there. And when you're this far along with this mental clarity and in feeling well, you can be in the middle of an ice cream shop that are serving the best hamburgers and hot dogs in the country. It doesn't matter because you just don't want it. You know what it would do to you, and it's just you have now the power and the wherewithal to say no, thank you.
I think that's the perfect place to end this. No, thank you to the garbage. The garbage is just done. Thank you very much for sharing your story and tell us how you got to where you are today. Because I do feel that every person's journey has been so different. You mentioned to me at the beginning that you don't have a channel, but is there a way for people to communicate with you?
My best way is an email. If they have questions, concerns, comments, it's CAF4676 at Gmail. Then my Instagram name is the same, CAF4676 on Instagram. By all means, if you have questions, concerns, just talking to a normal guy, I'm more than happy to answer your questions as the best I can. So thank you for talking with me. I enjoy your channel very much, and I really appreciate the work that you do.
Thank you for coming on, and obviously you can also answer comments in the description so that if people want to talk to you, that'd be great. Wellness Warriors, as usual, I want to put a video at the end here so you can get started on keto or carnivore and start living your life the way that you actually can live your life. So click on the link and I'm going to meet you over there.